I'm 61 now, and I've always lived my life with quiet dignity, careful, considerate, never the type to stir the waters. Love, for me, had become something distant, like a tale you half remember from childhood, but can't quite recall how it ends. My husband passed away 5 years ago, and since then I've clung to my routines, my work, my little garden, evenings with a cup of tea and classic movies. I truly believed my days of being seen, really seen, were behind me. But a few weeks ago, something happened. Something I still think about late at night when the world goes still. And if I can offer anything with this story, it's this. Don't silence the parts of you that still want to feel. It had rained that evening. A gentle, steady kind of rain that softened everything it touched. I stayed late at the office, catching up on numbers my team had muddled. My manager, Richard Bell, had left earlier for a dinner meeting, but he'd called to let me know his son would be swinging by to offer me a ride home. I almost declined. I didn't want to inconvenience anyone, least of all his son, Adam, a young man in his 20s I'd only briefly seen at company events. But as I stepped out of the building, umbrella fighting the wind, I spotted Adam's dark SUV waiting out front. He jogged over with effortless energy, tall and self-assured in that gentle way younger people sometimes carry. His hoodie was soaked across the shoulders. "Evening, Miss Hale," he said with a bright, warm grin. "Need a lift?" "Just call me Helen," I replied with a small smile. "And thank you, that's kind of you." I climbed into the passenger seat, and he circled around to the driver's side. The SUV was warm inside, with the faint scent of citrus and something clean, maybe his cologne or just a piece of gum. He adjusted the mirrors and pulled into the quiet, rain-slicked street. "I hope this isn't too much trouble," I said, folding my hands in my lap. He glanced at me briefly, then back at the road. "Not at all. Honestly, I needed the drive." We rode in silence for a while. The windshield wipers made a soft, rhythmic sound. Streetlights shimmered across the pavement, and the city felt slower, gentler in the rain. I found myself stealing glances at the way his jaw shifted when he focused, at the dimple that crept in when he smiled at something on the radio. "You've worked with my dad a long time," he said eventually. "Almost 20 years. He nodded. "He says you basically keep everything running." I chuckled. "Someone has to." He smiled, but there was something behind it, a tension that I couldn't quite name. Then he spoke again, quieter this time. "He doesn't really know me. Not like people think." I turned slightly toward him. "What do you mean?" Instead of answering, he pulled the car over beside a small park. The rain had slowed to a mist. The dashboard lights gave his face a soft blue glow. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know this is strange. I didn't plan to say anything tonight. But now that we're here, I can't keep it in." I held my breath, unsure of what I expected. Maybe something about his father, or a personal struggle. But his next words weren't what I could have imagined. "I've thought about you for a long time." My heart stumbled. "I know it probably sounds odd. You're older, and you work with my dad. But I've noticed you at those events. The way you carry yourself. Like you're made of something steady and strong. I wanted you to know." I couldn't speak. The rain had stopped entirely. The car was quiet except for the low hum of the heater, and the rapid beat of my own heart. Adam didn't move closer. He wasn't aggressive, or even expectant. His voice stayed calm, respectful. "I don't expect anything. I just needed to say it because I think people forget to tell others that they matter. And you do. You're seen, Helen. I see you." Something inside me shifted. Not just from what he said, but from how he said it. Gently. Honestly. Without asking for anything in return. Maybe I wasn't as finished with feeling as I thought. He dropped me off a few minutes later, quietly and without a word out of place. I stood in my foyer for a long while after the door closed behind me, still in my coat, staring at the quiet space I'd lived in for decades. It all looked the same, but something in me had changed. His words echoed like a melody I hadn't heard in years. "You deserve to hear that from someone who sees it." The next morning, I went about my usual routine: coffee, feeding my old cat, Maisie, opening the curtains to a gray winter sky. But I kept drifting off, my thoughts circling back to his voice, his sincerity. At the office, I avoided Richard. Not out of guilt, but because I felt newly exposed, like I was wearing something sheer that no one could see. But I could feel. Midweek, Adam sent a message. "Hey, I hope I didn't make anything weird. I'm really sorry if I crossed a line." I stared at the message for 5 minutes before replying. "You didn't. Thank you for trusting me with that. I'm still thinking." He replied quickly. "Take your time. I just wanted you to know." That evening, I sat on my porch under a blanket, the wind playing through the trees above. I thought about love, about how it used to feel, how age can make you invisible, even to yourself. But Adam hadn't looked at me like I was fading. A few days later, Richard's assistant called out sick before a client lunch across town. I volunteered to drop off some files. When I stepped outside, there he was again, leaning against the same SUV, hands in his jacket pockets. "Hey Helen," he said. "Dad said you might need a ride." There was something quieter in his smile this time, less confident, more tentative. I hesitated. "You sure?" He opened the passenger door. "Always." The ride was calm. We didn't talk much. The silence between us felt peaceful, not awkward. Before I stepped out, I turned to him. "Did you mean everything you said that night?" He met my eyes without hesitation. "Every word." I nodded slowly. "It's a lot for me to take in. You're young and I'm." "Don't," he said gently. "Don't define yourself by that. You're not just your age. You're Helen. You're warm and thoughtful. When you smile, the whole room softens." His words disarmed me completely. Not with flattery, but with truth. I handed him the folder, our fingers brushing. "I'll be back in 5, he said. He was. Back in front of the building, he paused again. "I don't want to cause confusion. I'm not asking for anything. But I meant what I said. And if nothing else, I hope I reminded you that you're worthy." "You did," I said quietly. "More than you know." That weekend, I busied myself with small chores. Folding towels that didn't need folding. Reorganizing drawers. Even trimming the rose bush, though it was far too late in the season. But I couldn't stop thinking about him. About how his words had stirred something long still in me. That Sunday evening, as I sat by the fireplace with an untouched book in my lap, my phone buzzed. "Are you okay? Would it be alright if I stopped by? Just for a bit?" My heart beat faster. I knew this could mean nothing, or something. I also knew that if I said no, I'd spend the whole night wondering. "Yes," I typed. "Just for a little while." 20 minutes later, his car pulled up. I opened the door before he knocked. "Hi," he said almost shyly. "Come in," I answered. The house felt warmer somehow, just from his presence. We settled in the living room. I made tea. He sat across from me, hands resting on his knees, careful not to intrude. "I didn't come here to make anything uncomfortable," he said. "I just wanted to talk without a steering wheel between us." "I've spent a long time thinking that part of my life was behind me," I confessed. "The part where anyone looks at me, like that." "It's not behind you," he said. "You don't even know how bright you still shine." The tears came quietly. Not sadness, just the release of long-held silence. We shared stories, about his late mother, about my early marriage, about quiet regrets. He stayed for hours, not as a visitor, but as someone offering space. Before he left, he lingered at the door. "Do you want me to go?" he asked. I touched his chest lightly, not with pressure but with trust. "No. I want you to stay. Just for a little while." We sat together on the couch under one blanket. My head rested on his shoulder. He held my hand. Not to claim, but to comfort. And in that stillness, I understood something. This wasn't about age. Or timing. It was about being seen. About connection. And maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late. As the fire faded to embers, I closed my eyes and leaned into the quiet truth of it all. Not everything has to be defined. Some things are just felt. And this, whatever it becomes, was real. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt tales like this one. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to leave a comment below, and let me know what moved you most.